Good morning everybody. Dylan K. Johnson here and welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to dive straight into this video. This is going to be covering something that I get asked about all the time over on my Instagram, and that's going to be how I mounted both my Aries trolley system, or it could be an Athena trolley system, the 1.0 specifically, not 2.0. I don't have measurements or anything for the 2.0 yet, so this is just kind of take this with a grain of salt if you have the 2.0. This is specific to the 1.0 version of both the Aries and Athena for the 4000 and the 5000 series. But like I said, the question is in reference to how I mounted the Athena trolley system, the cable trolley system, on the same upright as my Rogue lever arm trolley system. So initially, without this bracket that I'm going to be showing you guys how to make and kind of what I did, the cable would not only rub against the Rogue trolley, but it would actually impact the Rogue trolley if you were to bring the two trolleys too close together. They would actually smack into each other, potentially causing some pretty major damage to the cable termination location on the Aries or Athena or whatever you may call it. I'm just going to stick to Aries because that's what I have, on the Aries cable trolley. So where the cable connects to that trolley would impact with the Rogue trolley. So what I had to do was I had to basically design, build, fabricate, whatever you want to call it, an extension bracket for that Aries cable termination location. This was the simplest process that I could come up with for this. Other ideas I played around with were like cutting a notch out of the Rogue lever arm trolley, but I didn't want to damage the structural integrity of it, and I figured, if I ever end up reselling them in the future, I don't want to be, you know, just this was the simplest and easiest solution that I came up with. So if you guys have anything better out there, then great, but I'm going to show you guys what I did. So starting things off, let's cover the materials that you're going to need for this. I purchased everything from McMaster. I'll have a screenshot of my specific parts list on screen now, so you can pause the video, take a screenshot. I should also have everything listed down below in the description. Total cost for this, including shipping, for me was about $75, $80. The other thing that I had to pick up for this specific build was a 1/2-inch metal drill bit. If you don't have one of these, it's going to cost you around $20, $25. So all in, you're looking at like around $100 for this bracket, and that's including shipping. Shipping might be a little less for you somewhere, but that's what I ended up paying for this entire extension bracket project, whatever you want to call it. If you go to a local metal fab place, they might be able to do this really easily for you. It'd probably take them just, I don't know, a day at most. But like I said, I'm going to show you guys how I did it, because I tend to prefer to do things my way, myself, on my own, however you want to say. So yeah, the tools that you're going to need for this build, I'll have everything listed on screen, but let's quickly cover them. First off, like I said, you're going to need a 1/2-inch metal specific drill bit. Next up, you're going to need, what I like to use anyway, is a pilot bit. So something that's just a small drill bit to act as a pilot hole to keep the 1/2-inch bit centered when making our larger holes. After that, you're going to also need a center punch. Now, if you don't have a center punch, you can get by with just a flathead or a Phillips head screwdriver and a hammer. Same basic principle, you just align the point of the screwdriver with where you want your hole to be drilled. You're gonna take the hammer, just give it a few taps to make a little notch in the metal so that you can just center your bits and they don't walk on you while you're trying to drill out the holes. Super simple, super easy. I use this all the time when I'm working with metal. A center punch is better if you have access to one, but I don't. Really should pick one up one of these days. Anyway, on from that, next you're going to need a drill, obviously, for the drills, or for the drill bits. And then you're also going to need some way to cut these 6-inch metal bars in half. I specifically am using an angle grinder with a metal specific cutting wheel. Whatever you want to use that works for this for you is great. This is what I'm using. It works really well because once I finish cutting them in half, I can take that same angle grinder and just kind of grind off any burrs, any really sharp edges that I come across from that whole cutting process. So just kind of kills two birds with one stone, and it just works really well for what I did. Next up, you're going to need either a vise or some type of C-clamps to basically anchor and hold down these 6-inch pieces of metal while we're going to be drilling them and cutting them. With this build that I'm showing you today, I used a vise that I don't remember where I got this. I think I got it for free from somebody. But in the past, I think I have some pictures on screen now. I just used a couple or 1 or 2 C-clamps attaching the pieces of metal to a 2x4 that I just stood on to kind of keep it in place. So get creative, whatever works for you. That's all you really need to do is just find a way to anchor down these pieces of metal so they're not going to move on you when you're trying to cut them or drill into them. Now, from there, the next thing you're going to need is cutting oil. I am using 3-in-1 oil. This is just what I have on hand. If you have any specific cutting oils, that works as well. But 3-in-1 oil is great. I use it in the gym as well, just on any type of bare steel in order to clean off things like my dumbbell handles, barbells, basically any bare steel that you don't want to rust. 3-in-1 oil works really well on that. You just rub a thin coating on it. So that's what I have. It's kind of a multi-purpose oil, but off on that tangent. Getting back to our tools. So the next thing that you're going to need is a file. Basically, as I said, when you go through and you cut these in half or when you're drilling them out, you might end up with some sharp burrs. And where these are going to be mounted, they're going to be mounted to our Aries or our Athena, the cable trolleys. It's going to be next to your hand on a very regular basis. It's right next to where you're going to be using your hands to adjust these brackets, or not brackets, but adjust these cable trolleys. So you want to make sure that these brackets don't have any really sharp edges or burrs on them that you could end up accidentally scraping up against and just slicing your hand open mid-workout or just when you're moving things around the gym. So you want to make sure that you're going to be going through and filing them down, getting rid of any of those edges, and just make sure that you're protecting yourself as much as possible, basically. So I think that's everything. If there's anything else I missed, you'll have a parts list on screen now. But without further ado, let's get into just my process of building these. So really quick summary on how we manufacture, fabricate, whatever you want to call it, how we build these out. We're going to take our 6-inch pieces of metal, our 6-inch metal bars, and we're going to basically do a center line on them, and then I split them in half with a mark. I mark them at 3 inches, so I'm going to end up with 2 3-inch sections for each 6-inch bar. Now for the hole locations that we're going to be drilling, they're going to be 3/4 inches in off of each edge. So off the left edge, 3/4 inches in, off the right edge, 3/4 inches in, and then same thing in the center off of our 3-inch mark. We're gonna go 3/4 inches off of that for each one as well. You should have 4 holes marked on each 6-inch section of metal, each 6-inch metal bar. So in total, we're gonna be drilling 8 holes. If you have a drill press, that would be fantastic. I don't have the need for one. Next up, taking things outside, I just mounted it into my vice grip like I talked about earlier. Starting things off with a center punch. Again, I'm just using a flathead screwdriver, line up a corner of it with where I want my first hole to be, take a hammer, make a notch, then I can take my pilot bit, make sure that it's not gonna walk, it's centered on that little notch that I made. Drill out a hole. Be sure to go low and slow on this and use lots of cutting oil. You don't want to be potentially breaking a bit, especially with a pilot bit. They're going to be very small. You don't want it to break. You don't want to be putting excess torque on it one way or another, especially once you get close to punching through the metal. You don't want to accidentally punch through, tweak it, and snap your bit in half. I've done that in the past. Not fun. Sucks. But no. Low and slow, take your time with this, use lots of cutting oil, don't worry about it, it's not a crazy process, and then we're just gonna go through and do that on all of the holes. So we're gonna basically start out with our 8 pilot holes, and then I come back in with my 1/2-inch drill bit, and I'm gonna go through and just drill out these holes. One thing to keep in mind with this, once you get close to punching through the metal, start slowing things down and be very careful. You want to be really careful because what will happen is if your not paying attention, or even if you are paying attention, what can happen is the bit will catch once it gets like to the thinnest point of metal. Once it's just about to break through, the bit will catch on that metal, and then the entire vise or whatever you're holding down the metal bar with will just crank around and crack you in the shin like it did me. So luckily it wasn't anything major. I wasn't doing anything too crazy, but just something to keep in mind as you get close to punching through with the 1/2" bit. Just be very cautious, because you could end up kind of catching and cranking things around and whacking yourself in the shin or hurting yourself. And I don't want anyone getting hurt during this process. This is a super simple build. There shouldn't be anybody getting hurt. Be sure you wear your proper PPE, personal protective equipment. Damn it. Safety glasses, ears, clothing for all the metal shards and everything. I know when I'm drilling these holes out, I'm just in a tank top, but once I get to actually using the angle grinder, I go in like full Carhartt thick jacket, and I've got my jeans on and everything, all that stuff. So be sure you're properly protecting yourself. I don't want anybody getting hurt. There's my little safety rant for you guys. Once we finished off drilling all of our pilot holes, next up I'm just going to cut these pieces in half. Again, I'm using my angle grinder, so just mount it in the vise, angle grinder. Be very careful with this. Be aware of your surroundings, because you will have metal, sparks, everything flying around. So just be aware of your surroundings. Be kind of cognizant of what you could be hitting. Don't start any fires, that kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about. And yeah, we're just gonna split these in half. One thing that I really like about using the angle grinder is that I'm able to basically go back through and just kind of quickly file down the edge that I just cut, and get rid of any sharp burrs, sharp corners, things like that, like I talked about before. And then we're gonna do the same thing to the next one. And then what I did, which I don't think I showed on video, I don't think I recorded it, was I basically just went back through with the angle grinder and just kind of filed down all the edges, all the corners of all 4 pieces of metal that we just cut, including the edges that I didn't cut, because sometimes the ones from manufacturer, they're just, I don't know how they cut them. I think it's like a press cut, but they can have sharp corners on those as well. And again, these are going to be around our hands a lot. We don't want to accidentally brush up against a really sharp corner or a burr or an edge and slice our hand open mid-workout or something like that. So yeah, once I've got those edges kind of filed down using the angle grinder, then I went back in with just a regular file, and I just kind of worked around the holes that we drilled out to make sure there wasn't anything crazy going on there. And then I actually ended up buffing it out using, I don't even know what it is. It's just a bit that I have attached, just kind of like a wire brush bit that I have. I think I use it for like removing rust from bars and stuff, but I used that to just kind of buff it out and kind of make it look pretty, look nice, look very nice and nice. So yeah, once we have that, then it's just a matter of assembling it. So for this part, super easy. What I like to do is I like to just basically lift up the Aries stack, or lift up your weight stack, pop the pin in it, just kind of so that you've got a bit of slack on the line, slack on the cable. That way you can go back into the cable termination point, take that cable off. It's not gonna like be super taut and be hard. It's just gonna have a little bit of slack in it. You can take it off really easy. And then we're gonna use all of our screws, our bolts and everything, and we're going to attach the brackets and sandwich them together, as you can see here, just on top of the original termination location. We're gonna take our coupling threaded nut, the really long one, and we're gonna basically feed that into the bracket that we made, and just attach the new cable attach the cable to our new cable termination location. All that to say, you can see on screen now what I'm talking about. But yeah, super easy. Once you've got kind of everything in place, then you can go back, drop the weight stack down to normal, and just kind of fine tune your cable termination adjustment so that the weight stack is where you want it to be and the cable is at the tautness or tension that you would like it to have. And that's pretty much it. So like I said, this is a very simple build. As much as I've gone on for like 15 minutes about it, I probably could have done this in like a 60-second clip, but it is what it is. I like to be as thorough as possible. And for those of you that are like super handy, you will have probably seen what I did in the initial video, and you were like, yeah, I can do that. Done. Don't need to watch the video, but whatever. For everybody else for anyone that is not as DIY inclined and they want to do this, I like to just be as thorough as I can. So yeah, and explain my whole process. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the video. If you have any questions about it, let me know. This specific set that I'm making here is actually going out to somebody that contacted me over on Instagram. And like I was saying, if you have a local fabrication shop, they could probably whip this up for you in an afternoon. It's really nothing fancy. It's nothing crazy. You will probably have to get the bolts and everything yourself, but for the brackets, I mean, any metal shop, any fabrication shop could whip these up in a day, provided that they have the materials on hand, which they should. So yeah, I mean, it's literally just 4 3-inch sections of metal with a 1/2 inch hole drilled at 3/4 inches in from each edge. That's all they are, really. I mean, you've got, what are the width of these? 1.5 inch, I believe, is what the width of the pieces of metal are. 3 inch by 1.5 or something like that. You guys saw the specs, you know what I'm talking about. But no, like I said, they're super easy to build. If you don't want to do it yourself, shouldn't cost too much from a local fabricator. And yeah, overall, really quick, really easy, and they work extremely well. I've now been using these on my rack for over a year. I have had 0 issues. I've loaded up the full stack and everything. 0 issues with them at all. As I mentioned earlier, these are specific to the PR 4000 and 5000 series version 1, not the 2.0, the version 1 Aries and Athena. So this will work, I've confirmed, on both the 4000, 5000, Aries and Athena cable trolleys. There haven't been any modifications made to those yet. However, I've already seen the 2.0 Aries trolleys, and they've changed up the trolley completely. So these will not do the same thing on the 2.0. I actually don't even know if they're needed for the 2.0 because they've actually offset the trolleys out wider, so they could actually inherently have enough clearance for the lever arms, but I don't know. They aren't out yet. I don't have measurements. All that, suffice it to say that, as I said, these are only for the version 1 Aries and Athena trolleys. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. If you guys have any questions, let me know down below. Check me out over on Instagram, do all the YouTube things, smash that like button, subscribe, ring that bell. I don't know. It's freaking 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm just trying to get this video filmed so I can start my workout before my son wakes up. I am tired. I am running off of like 4 hours of sleep and I don't even know what. No, I haven't had coffee. I haven't had pre-workout yet. As for now, that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Later. I don't know how I'm going to sign the video out. See ya. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh, shit. I forgot to have the mic on there. I forgot I had my mic on my hat, and I just chucked my hat at the camera. Luckily, I didn't break anything. See you guys next time.